Welcome back to the Ad Lib Podcast. Today is episode. Sorry,
Again.
hey guys, welcome back to the Ad Lib Podcast. Today is episode number 86. For some reason, Boomcaster doesn't catch the first couple of seconds of audio. I don't know why, but anyways, we're here, and with me is Franco. How's it going, Franco?
Hello, guys. Glad to be back. I'm doing good. It's too hot. Stay hydrated. I have the water with me, and we're gonna talk as if there's no one listening. No, but you actually should listen to us and leave a like, comment, and subscribe. We like to have you on chat. And there's Joe.
How's it going, Joe?
I'm okay. How are you guys?
Good to be back, all three of us here. Been a while, I think.
Joe's being very classy with his red wine.
It's not classy. It's red wine from Tesco. It's been a Monday.
Oh shit.
All Mondays basically.
Yeah.
Except when you're a teacher and it's the summer holidays. That's fine.
Okay.
All right, sir.
Although to be fair, I've been busy with work. I've been working hard these past couple of weeks. I've been actually quite busy. But let's get into it, guys. First of all, how are you doing? I forgot to switch my glasses. I noticed I'm not seeing well. Switch my glasses. But anyways, Franco, what have you been up to this week?
Nothing much. Lots of editing, personal stuff. And now I have to get back to the work stuff. Happy to announce that I got a victory with thanks to my union. Please, it's important to be part of a union. So I had got some good news today. I thought that was Buckfast for a second there, Joe. Jesus Christ, Buckfast. I mean, that's for breakfast.
I don't drink that shit.
And yeah, I watched Trap this weekend. It really works as a black comedy. It's very fun. I mean, it's very campy as well, because someone said when I was reading the letterbox reviews of Trap, it's as if he hasn't he's never had a proper normal dialogue. And I genuinely enjoyed some of the shots in it. Like there were some really interesting shots. I know I'm stretching the analogy. Please don't get me wrong, but it was a bit Hitchcockian the way the shots were made.
Yes, 100%. Yes, I saw it. I saw it.
But again, it's a stretch because it felt. You know what? It felt like. What's it called? The Man Who Knew Too Much, but with James Stewart. When there was the moment in the theater, when they're locked in the theater.
I actually only watched the older version. I watched the one he made in England back when he was in England.
Yeah, and I mean, I liked it. I enjoyed it. I didn't expect much, but I was pleasantly surprised. So it's a fun 1 hour 45 minutes. And again, some of the times is like I was laughing my head off, especially when he meets the mother of his daughter's friend.
Oh yeah, that was good.
That was so funny.
What do you think about the cinematography, Franco? I loved it, but when I discussed it with Bruce was like, it was fine, but he saw nothing like out of this world from it.
Really?
It was brilliant.
It's not. I haven't, to be honest, I haven't seen his previous outing. What's it called? The Cabin, the one with.
Knock at the Cabin. That's a pretty good film as well.
I haven't seen it, so I can't compare. I don't know if it's the same cinematographer.
I think it is. Yes.
Okay.
Let me check.
No, I think for this one he got
an Indian
cinematographer. No?
Oh no, he got the guy who works with. Didn't he get the guy who works with the Italian director?
Luca
Guadagnino. Yeah. Wasn't
be.
it him?
I thought it was Inarritu, but it could be Guadagnino.
I know it's Indian if I'm not mistaken. The
Sayombu Mukdiprom. Yeah, that's the guy who worked on Call Me by Your Name. Call Me by Your Name, Suspiria. Oh, he worked on 13 Lives. All really well shot films. It's Sayombu Mukdiprom. He works with Guadagnino.
I think that's Thai, if I'm not mistaken. Sorry for the for the Thai listeners.
But I love the shots he had in this film, like that one scene where you can see the front of the stage, where Josh Hartnett is looking at the front of the stage and looks at the backstage, and the camera like pans. It's really well done.
Yeah. I'm just checking quickly. Yeah,
In the meantime,
he's Thai.
from Thailand. Okay.
He also works with. He worked with. I don't know. Apichatpong, Viras Takul. He's a very well-known art house director. So there's that. And then I watched Long Legs again. It was a different. I almost want to give it 4.5 this time around. Long Legs. Even the I think the second time around watching the final bit, it didn't like offend me much as the first time round, and I was noticing so much Easter eggs here and there. Like I was impressed. There was a moment I'm like, oh, the devil appears over there as well. And it's inspiring me a lot as well. By the way, quick plug-in and shout out to Bruce.
Yes.
Video Nasties guys, by the way, as well. We should we'll make a plug afterwards if you're up to it.
100%. Anything else, Franco?
That's it. And then we're gonna discuss Terminator Zero. I watched the first 3 episodes. I have some thoughts about it here and there.
Before I get into Joe, today, guys, we have, because I didn't do the introduction, I'm just noticing I didn't do the introduction. So today, we've got a couple of trailers to react to before we get into what Joe has been up to this week. We've got the Sonic the Hedgehog 3 trailer, which we'll be looking at. We've also got the trailer for Castillo, which is the film based on Clare Azzopardi's book of the same name. Then we've got a few kind of like first reactions. There's Chaos. Joe, you watched the first couple of episodes, right? There's Terminator Zero, which I watched 5 episodes. Franco watched 3, so we'll talk about that. Rings of Power Season 2. We have the first 3 episodes to talk about there. And Star Wars Outlaws. I'll give you my first impressions of that game. I've got I think around 20 hours into the game. I think around 15 hours. I have that to talk about. I didn't miss any other reviews, right? You didn't watch DD, right, Franco?
No, but because I have to find the stream is not good, so I have to find another stream. I'll wait for it. But it seemed quite nostalgia for. I think we were all teenagers back in 2000s, right? Like there's 2008 basically.
2008, yeah. Yes, I was 15. Yeah, I was 15.
I think it's going to be a good one because the first few episodes, the first few minutes as I watched looks quite a good comedy drama, especially and again it's about the Taiwanese American experience. So I'm looking forward to watching it again later on.
Okay. So, and before, sorry, Joe, I'm going to interrupt you again. Viewers and listeners, let us know what you have been up to in the comment section below or in the chat. Sorry, I'm a boomer. Let us know in the chat what you've been up to, what you've been watching, and so on. Joe, floor is yours.
W's in chat.
So for myself, I was on holiday in Malta. As you guys know, we met up. We had the very good evening at Video Nasties, where I think I ruined a lot of people's evenings by choosing the Devils to screen. Which, by the way, anyone who was there and you didn't enjoy the Devils, sorry. As I said, you're all wrong if you don't love that film, but that's just me. In terms of watching stuff, I haven't done all that much. I did manage to catch Blink twice. Whilst I was in Malta, I went with a couple of friends. And I did watch the first 3 episodes of Rings of Power. And only the first 2 of Chaos. So I won't have too much to say on Chaos. It will just be a very, very, very brief kind of like first impression of that show. But that's basically been me. Now I'm back in the UK, back to real life, back to grey skies and no humidity, which is actually kind of nice to test a change from Malta.
Humidity.
By the way, since you're back, Joe, shall we pile on Andrea for giving 3.5 for Ellie Romulus?
We certainly can.
I think 3.5 is a fair score.
Nah, I think it gets a 3.5 just for its production and the way it's shot.
I was going to give it a 3 for just how it was shot. But as I was talking about it, I remembered. Yeah, I kind of enjoyed it quite a bit. To be fair,
It's a solid 4. I mean,
It might be the best looking Alien film we've ever seen.
no,
Yes.
Alien looks much better.
No, it does not.
I think
Yeah.
No, when was the
even
last? When was
Prometheus.
okay, but
Not long ago.
Prometheus does stuff with like giant vistas on a whole planet, so you can't give it that. In
Yeah.
terms of the
Oh,
way
fair
this
enough, fair
blends
enough.
its CGI and its environments is ridiculous.
I watched Alien not too long ago because my sister bought the Blu-ray, the 4K Blu-ray for Alien, and we watched it together. The whole family watched Alien together. So it
Deep
hasn't been a
fried.
while. So maybe because I watched it on Blu-ray, you know, like 4K,
I mean,
it looked
don't-
super
don't-
crisp.
Don't get me wrong, Alien still looks fantastic to this day for a film that was made in 1979. It is one of my favorite
for
films.
sure.
But in terms of how this blended the two big elements of using CGI and practical sets and animatronics, I think it's one of the best looking ones. It definitely looks way better than Aliens because a lot of that does not look very good now. But that's it's a case of age.
Yes. You know, I was surprised when I rewatched Aliens a while back. I thought Alien looked much better. Obviously, Aliens has a lot more action, has a lot
Yeah.
more going on. So that's the reason why. Right? Even some of the sound effects feel a little dated, like when the alien tries to attack and does the sound.
Yeah.
No, but
Yeah.
but for me, like what I enjoyed it. There was it stands throughout. There were some leaps that I had to do as well, like especially towards the end. But for it looked fucking amazing. That's the first thing I told you guys when during the intermission. By the way, that intermission, Madonna and Morta.
I went to complain. I went to complain about the
Yeah.
intermission because that was like,
Good God, man!
what the fuck is going on? How can
Yeah.
you? Oh,
I-
like,
I-
talk
I
about the
don't-
worst placed intermission ever.
And the obviously I'm still on the fence on the Android thing because story-wise it makes sense.
Yeah.
If it's happening between Alien and Aliens, it's like it's nothing you can do. It's just that I don't understand why they didn't go fully CGI. Oh, sorry, fully animatronic because they could have pulled it off for sure.
Yeah.
Was there
I think-
some AI used? Was there some AI
for
used?
the face, definitely, yes.
Yeah.
That's my one big qualm with what they decided to do. As Franco said, I understand it because in the law it makes complete sense for that, I guess, not character to come back again, but for that person to be there as that character. But I think it needed a couple more months in the oven to be figured out. And I mean, Alvarez has said in many interviews it was not his decision to include that character in the film. It's something that Ridley Scott wanted a lot more. But they did then do the proper things of they contacted Ian Holmes' family. They made sure that they got the correct blessing from them to get it done. So it's a bit of a gray area, and it's definitely my least favorite thing about the film. But I'm also like a lot of people saying like it's just a lot of like fan service in this film. Sorry, I'm a fan and I was serviced. If you're gonna do it, that's the way you do it.
Look, I'm sorry. I don't agree too much with the fan service moniker. I mean, you want fan service? Fucking watch Deadpool and versus Wolverine.
Exactly.
That's
But I
funny.
mean, Deadpool and Wolverine, I gave a 2.5. This I gave a 3.5.
No, I know. But
Meaning there was more quality in this. Obviously, visually,
no,
this
for sure.
is
Hey,
like
lad.
Even just
this is like a
performance-wise,
fucking Tarkovsky film next to
Kaylee Spacey is
Deadpool and
fantastic
Wolverine.
in the main role as well. Granted, her character is a bit thin, but
Her character was quite
Listen, the characters are underwritten, like especially
very underwritten. Yeah,
but for what they got, they did a good job, especially
compared
Andy,
to and they had David Johnson.
David
His
Johnson.
character.
he's probably the best character in it as well.
He gets the meat and the potatoes in this film. Right?
I also say let's not forget as well, if we compare it to the first Alien, those characters are also wildly undeveloped as well. But
100%.
we take it that this is the first time we've seen them. Then the only character which gets developed over the Alien franchise is Ripley, and as the films go on, she gets worse and worse as a developed character.
But Joe, Alien, I will agree. Aliens, for example, I would say that the soldiers do get a couple of lines here and there, which make them pretty memorable characters, despite them not being, these, very complex.
I don't know. I just think it's a bit of a tough one to say because we never got to see that film exactly when it came out. We know them now, those iconic characters, because they're iconic characters, you know, like especially like the likes of like Bill Paxton in that film.
Yes, exactly.
You know, obviously the side characters in this, none of them are anywhere close to that kind of like icon status. But what I liked about Spaney is that she has to be the final girl in a horror film, and she gets that, which is big boots to fill whenever you have to do that, and she's believable as well.
It's game over, man. Game over. I think that line was improvised, if I'm not mistaken. Some trivia.
Could be.
Yeah.
And to be fair, there is one memorable line. There's something in the fucking water.
Yeah, that's a very good line.
And you never make a British guy say water in a film, and expect the fans to take it seriously. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I also don't get people complaining about the video gaming aspect of this film, because I thought it was fun as hell. The whole, I mean, I'm going to spoil a major scene in the film here, but I guess tune out if you don't want to know. I don't think it's that major of a spoiler. Is the anti-gravity acid scene? I thought that was cool as shit.
Great, that was really cool.
That's so
like that was one of two scenes in particular where I felt, as a big fan of this franchise, I've always wanted to see this happen, but I never knew that I wanted to see it happen until I saw it on screen.
Mm-hmm.
And the other one was when they get chased by like the hundreds of face huggers. I'm like, this is so cool, and why have we never seen this up until now?
Run.
Yeah, that line delivery was so good.
Mm-hmm.
And the way he switches up as well. Anyway.
Great stuff. Yeah, because this turned into
for me, it's like I went in, I didn't expect the heights that Alien and the Aliens reached. And like Joe said, I'm a fan and I was serviced.
What else, Joe, have you been up to? Or is that it?
That's basically it. I haven't played any games. I'm holding off on Star Wars Outlaws because I've heard on console it can be a little bit ropey in terms of performance.
Mm-hmm.
And I also don't feel like paying £70 for that right now.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll wait until it goes.
You can use Ubisoft Connect, Joe. That's what I did.
Is that on console as well?
I don't know. On PC, I did Ubisoft Connect, 17 euros.
It's not the kind of game I'd play sitting at my PC though. I'd want that on my TV, comfortable, lying down on my sofa.
It's not available on consoles? I think.
I don't know. It maybe it might not be.
Check, because for me, I just subscribed for 1 month, cancelled my subscription at once, so I know it will stop by the end of the month. And to be honest, when the Assassin's Creed game comes out?
I have no idea.
But if it comes out in a couple of months' time, I might just keep it and keep on playing Star Wars Outlaws. Because I'm actually having quite a decent time playing it so far. Actually, let me give a quick overview of my experience with it so far, since we're talking about what we've been up to. So I started playing Star Wars Outlaws. So far, I've been having a decent time. I understand completely why people will be 100% skeptical about it. I am skeptical about it. It's a Ubisoft game. So far, with regard to technical issues, I really have not had too many technical issues. I had one issue where I got into this secret area where you have to use the small Nix, the small companion, to hit a lever, and you're on this box, and the box moves forward. And my character is hanging onto the box. The box moved forward, my character was stuck in the air, just there, like stuck in the animation. That was the one issue I had, one technical issue I had so far in 15, I think it's between 15 to 20 hours of playing the game. Apart from that, frames-wise, I have had no issues. I've had a solid 80, 90 frames consistently on my PC. With regard to the AI, I've been playing on the hardest difficulty. So hardest difficulty is, I believe, the way to play this game, because I've heard lots of complaints about the AI being very stupid, but when you play on the hardest difficulty, 1-2 shots and you're dead. So it's like there isn't really much time to react. So you have to be really careful with the way you move around. For example, the takedown animation, I wish it was a bit cooler, because the takedown animation is literally hand, boom, and you're hitting a stormtrooper on the helmet, And you're like, wait, but what's the point of a helmet if a woman can hit him on the head with her hand, do this, and just he collapses onto the floor? It feels a little cheap. But apart from that, I think overall the gameplay experience has been actually quite fun. I'd say the biggest strong elements of this game are the world design, the worlds you explore, and the cities you get to explore feel straight out of Star Wars. This is feels very much like a Star Wars game. Whether it's the sound effects, whether it's the characters you meet, whether it's the quests you have to go on to, or the missions you have to complete. It's every Star Wars fan's dream, right? To experience kind of like the underground, the underbelly of Star Wars. It's what we wanted out of the what was the series? The Boba Fett series. What I wanted out of the Boba Fett series, which unfortunately turned into something different. But you can be mostly as brutal as you want. You can kill your enemies, you can stun your enemies, you can knock out your enemies. That's up to you. Like I said, the world design, the shops you visit, really well designed. I think the gameplay sequences you go through, I do feel like they can get a bit repetitive, because it's basically get to an area, sneak in, knock out the enemies, find the loot. However, then there are a bit breaks from that, because you have a lot of small mini games here and there you can play. Also, there's the flying. The flying feels a little awkward, but I mean, I respect the fact that it's there, because that's completely different game experience from the exploring and whatnot. And to be fair, it's done much better than Starfield, in my opinion. And so overall, I've been having a good time playing Star Wars Outlaws. I think it did need maybe 1 or 2 more months, just, maybe, especially the combat sequences, like I said, I can see them getting very repetitive. You're playing this game for 30, 40 hours. So I don't know, but at least so far it doesn't seem like there's going to be too much variety on that element. But we'll see. But so far, I'm having a very good time. I think there's been a lot of hate towards this game, because everyone's very negative with regard to Star Wars right now.
It's getting just like okay reviews though. Like it seems to be like 7 on 10 across the board.
From critics, from game.
It seems to be
reviews.
like,
but
yeah,
then
like, this is fine.
Yeah, but then look at all the many YouTubers, like even like all the Critical Drinker guys, and even Charlie gave it, Moist Critical gave it a really harsh review, and he's like, this is unplayable. And I'm like, really? I mean, yes, it's not like a wow game. Like I'd give this, if I had to rate this on the way we rate things, I'd give this between a 3 and a 3.5. But there is space for 3 and 3.5 games, in my opinion. Like, not every game needs to be Elden Ring or God of War. Like, not every game needs to be a 5 out of 5. Some games are 6 out of 10 or 7 out of 10, 3.5, right out of 5. Which is where I think this game falls, in my personal opinion. Now, maybe, again, just getting to experience the underbelly of Star Wars, of the Star Wars world, it did it for me, right? It hit that itch that I had, and it was just what I wanted. I think if you're a fan of Star Wars and you're willing to close your eyes on certain, weaker game elements, I think overall you'll have a good time with this. And like I said, on PC so far, I've had little to no issues technically. I've been having a very good time. So those are my primary thoughts on Star Wars. Probably next week I'll give a more full review to the game. But those are my first thoughts. Apart from that, I've watched a few films here and there. I watched To Be or Not to Be, the 1942 film. That was a brilliant comedy by Ernst Lubitsch. I rewatched Rebecca, the Hitchcock film. Me and Bruce mentioned it a couple of weeks ago, and I got the itch to rewatch it. Still brilliant as ever. I watched my second Tarkovsky now, Andrei Rublev.
I haven't seen that one actually.
It's wow. It's an experience. I'm not going to say I loved all of it, but filmmaking wise and technically, it's astonishing.
He's a poet. He's not a filmmaker. He's a poet.
Exactly. Yes. Pretty much.
This one of the films I haven't seen. I've seen Solaris, and there was The Mirror, if I'm not mistaken, which was shown in Malta. That's it, basically. I haven't watched. Wait, no, I think I watched something else by Tarkovsky.
You probably watched the other one I watched. Oh, I don't know. Oh God, where are all his films? What's additional crew? Why the hell is this showing additional crew?
Director, most probably, I think.
No, you probably watched Stalker, right?
Yes, Stalker. Yes,
Stalker.
yes.
Yeah, that's the other one I had watched. I agree, Franco. It's pretty much, yeah, it's a poet. It's the structure is a little weird because it's split up into 10 parts. Prologue, epilogue. The epilogue blew my mind. I'm not going to say what happens, but when you watch it, it'll blow your mind. And even the prologue, this shot that we're seeing in the trailer, like I'm like, how the hell did you shoot that? It's crazy. It's going to remind you a little bit of Ottomezzo, like the opening of Ottomezzo, a little similar to, in the way it's done. Yeah, brilliant stuff. I wouldn't say I loved all of it. Again, I'm not the biggest fan of the structure of like splitting up a film into 10 parts. It does break up. Again, the pacing is sometimes an issue. For me, it's a 3-hour film and it's sometimes very slow, but actually quite watchable. I was surprised by how watchable it was. Like I never got bored watching it. Let's put it that way. I expected to be bored in parts. I never got bored. I didn't always love what I was seeing. There's one battle sequence which is, wow, that's epic. That's really epic. Like a massive sequence of soldiers and I was like, Jesus, they had a budget for this. I mean, but yeah, this is very, very good stuff. Very good stuff. So yeah, that's pretty much my week. And then obviously Terminator Zero and Lord of the Rings of Power, which we'll talk about later on. So that was my week. Let's get into it now, guys. Let's get into the first trailer. Viewers and listeners, let us know what you have been up to. We're now going to get into the couple of trailers we have for today. We'll start off with the Sonic the Hedgehog trailer. Has anyone here watched the Sonic movies, guys?
No. I think I've only watched the first one. The second one I didn't watch. But by the way, I've been watching Wukong playthroughs. That game looks fantastic.
Yeah, that's a game I'm tempted to get, to be fair.
The gameplay is slightly. I agree. It's repetitive, and also quick comment. I'm not going to get into the whole controversy. Both parties are wrong, basically. Which it was like, on the one hand, the developers made some really stupid remarks, typical incel comments. But on the other hand, you call a game with traditional Chinese characters from a traditional Chinese novel, and you say, there's not much DEI.
I read that. That was so stupid.
My God, man, that was so stupid. So stupid.
I'm glad the internet ripped apart that critic for that comment.
It was so stupid. I mean, yeah, but again, I'm not defending the developers, because the developers made some really shitty comments on women and whatnot. But
quite a few comments, because I read the article about it. It's like one too many comments.
I mean, but again, I mean, for us, like I've been watching playthroughs of Wukong, amazing. And again, this was the same issue with Harry Potter. People don't give a shit. It's just a game for them. They don't know about the surrounding controversy. But that's the only comment anyway.
Okay. Joe, have you watched the Sonic movies?
I have not. I didn't even know that there was going to be a third one. Yeah,
there is. And in fact, in the new Sonic the Hedgehog 3 trailer has Dr. Robotnik and the Blue Blur team up. Against Shadow. Okay. Franco, you're going to say something?
No. It's like Blue Blur.
All right. Let's get into it. So, in the trailer, we are introduced once again to Sonic, who's voiced by Ben Schwartz, and the Tails. That's Colleen O'Shaughnessy. who are teaming up with their former enemy Knuckles, Idris Elba, to fight a new and formidable adversary. From the looks of it, the adventure will be all about Shadow the Hedgehog, the Sonic clone experiment that went rogue and seems to be pretty much undefeatable. The antagonist will be voiced by none other than Keanu Reeves, who was announced as part of the voice cast back in April. Sonic the Hedgehog 3 will also feature the return of fan favorite villain Dr. Robotnik, who will once again be played by Jim Carrey. Wasn't Jim Carrey retired from acting?
No.
I thought he said he retired from acting.
This is like Hayao Miyazaki saying retiring from animation.
Pretty sure he had said he was done with acting.
Don't think so.
I remember reading an article about Jim Carrey saying he was done with acting, but anyways,
maybe
apparently not.
Maybe it's AI.
Oh, yeah, no. Apparently in 2022 he said that Sonic the Hedgehog 2 would be his final film, but I guess not.
Damn, they must have given him quite the check for this.
Bag.
The character's return is a surprise, not only because of the fate. Oh, it's in the article. Not only because of the fate he met in the previous installments, but also because Carrey had recently announced his retirement from acting, which fans thought would impact his participation in the franchise. So far, Carrey hasn't been attached to any major projects for the next couple of years. So, do you guys remember the original design of Sonic?
It's like something out of a nightmare.
Madonna, that looked so bad. That was horrific.
That was the only time the fans did a good job because they ripped them apart the first time.
The fans were right. For once, the fans were right. This looks so much better and so much cleaner than that whatever that travesty was of a design.
It still looks so stupid though, having a blue hedgehog with shoes on who's fairly humanoid in a world with real people. And
really?
Just make an animated film, man. It just looks so stupid to have these characters interacting with actual actors. It must be so demeaning and weird for the actors to have to talk to like a green doll.
At least our tennis balls as well.
Exactly. Like, just make an animated Sonic film. Like,
listen, Joe. Sometimes we need a break from our Tarkovskys and our Hitchcocks. So
yes, but I'm not asking you to make a high piece of art. Like, make it like Pixar animation style. But animation is its own important medium, and you can make fantastic things in there which appeal to both adults and children, or they just appeal to kids. Who cares who you're making the film for? But in my opinion, this just looks so stupid to have live action Matthew Marsden, a real person, talk to this blue hedgehog who runs really fast.
I would generally agree with you, Joe, because I hate the make everything live action mentality we have today in the big studios. But having watched the first two Sonics, I quite enjoyed them. It's a guilty pleasure, I think, of mine.
I'm sure they're fine because they get decent reviews and
they're fun. They're really fun.
Apparently, the second one.
Like them. This is
the
just
second
a very
one was
personal gripe for me.
Yes, I understand completely. Franco.
No, the second one was better received as well. So
I enjoyed both more or less the same. The second one had some parts of the film where like Sonic doesn't appear at all. And it's just like human drama, and I was like, what the fuck? I don't care about this wedding, this random wedding. Like, get me out of here, show me Sonic. And so that part was really lame. But apart from that, anytime Sonic's on the screen, the CGI is really clean in these Sonic films. They're both in the first and in the second one. And there's Jim Carrey, who's just so fun to watch, just ridiculously fun to watch. Hilarious throughout. Overplaying it as hell, but that's the fun part of it, right? I think Jim Carrey really, like, if you see Jim Carrey in it, Joe, you'll think, okay, this kind of makes sense in a way, because he's overacting so much that it almost makes sense, the fact that then there's Sonic in the same way.
He's playing a cartoon character.
Yes, pretty much. pretty much.
Can you imagine Nicolas Cage and Jim Carrey trying to overplay each other?
And then Keanu Reeves.
The man who doesn't play at all.
Exactly.
he just speaks cool, man.
But like, I think it's a really fun film. I think the response so far to the first two Sonics have been quite positive. The fans are really like love the films. I saw the reactions to the trailer of 3. Everyone's like, damn, looks so good.
It looks good.
I think it looks really good, in my opinion. Like, I'm looking forward to watching this very much. This comes out. When does this come out?
December 20th.
December 20th. That's going to be a really busy December.
Doesn't look bad at all. Even the
CGI effects, right? The visuals, like visually.
yeah, there's depth. There's good contrast. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I hope they don't go down the path of doing the final showdown in some like small locations. You know, it would be underwhelming.
Or in the Deadpool and Wolverine world they end up in the blandest possible universe ever. Jesus Christ, man. No, but I mean, look at Joe. Look at Jim Carrey. Like,
yes, okay, he looks good in the role. I still think it's dumb seeing him talk to a CGI hedgehog.
He has a massive belly. He goes into the bathroom, takes a massive dump, comes out, and he's like tin Jim Carrey now. It's like, this is what we're dealing with. It's so funny and it's so stupid.
I know it's meant to be stupid and fun, but I would rather it were all animated or it were all CGI.
I understand that as well, because there have been 2 excellent outings as far as CGI are concerned. Puss in Boots, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the Spider-Man movies. So I get your point, but I don't.
Imagine a Puss in Boots movie where only Puss in Boots is a CGI character.
I think, given the tone they went for the latest Puss in Boots film, that would make no sense, of course. Yeah. But since this is super goofy, like that was a super serious film, like the Puss in Boots.
Yeah.
The second Puss in Boots was so serious. Like,
I'll throw you another one. Imagine, I mean, it wouldn't be live action, of course, but imagine they do like with the Lion King, where they do live action Shrek.
No, but again, the tone for Shrek is different, right?
Yeah, but you can easily make it darker, which they probably would try and do because they like doing that now.
Although Shrek is quite dark at certain moments.
Yeah. Well, like, it also works as an animated film.
100%. It just has to be animated. Again, I think the proof is in the pudding. I think the first 2 films were received quite well. It mostly works quite well for critics and works really well for the fans. So I think, so far from what I've seen, my expectations are quite high because the first 2 films were quite decent.
Yeah, I mean, with a party pooper.
Although Joe, again, I understand completely where you're coming from because it's the same thing we say about Disney, right? So I understand completely.
Yeah, like how dumb live action Lilo and Stitch is going to look.
Oh, Madonna.
Oh God.
Fuck Carnish.
Or live action Moana, like a film like animated, is so beautiful in its use of color and the vistas it portrays. Why are we doing that in live action?
The second one doesn't look that good at all, huh?
No.
I mean, I haven't seen anything with the second one, but I mean, if this needs anything to go by with its sequels of newer IP.
No, very much a made-for-TV look, unfortunately, and it was made for TV.
New IP. Sequels they didn't put out so far. So
yep. So, let's get into something a bit more serious now, because this looks very serious. Castillo, which is, like I said, based on Clare Azzopardi's very, very popular book of the same name. The description I have here is from Eden. Haunted by her family's tragic past, a young woman's quest to reconnect with her estranged mother leads her into a labyrinth of secrets, lies, and the unraveling of a gripping mystery that challenges everything she knows about her own identity and the bonds of family. So, we got the trailer for Castillo. Obviously, I won't play the whole thing here. I just have some shots here and there. Guys, what do you think about the trailer? Joe, have you watched it?
I watched parts of it.
What do you think?
Watched the whole thing. To start on a negative, I agree with Franco's sentiment that the lighting is a bit all over the place. But otherwise, then, to praise it, it does look like a professionally well-made, proficient film at the same time. I was actually just having a conversation with a friend about this very topic mere minutes ago. And And this might seem like the wrong kind of take to have, I suppose. But on the one hand, it's really good that this film is being made and that Take-Two are making it. Take-Two, who previously had what I thought was a very good film with Limestone Cowboy.
Mm-hmm.
But one, this way, I mean, we always come to this topic when it comes to films in Malta, but I'm like a fucking broken record with this. Why is this only the second film we've seen from Take-Two in, 12 years?
How long has Limestone Cowboy been?
It's long ago, and in fact, it was last I spoke to them. They said it was supposed to go around the festival circuit, Limestone Cowboy, but then nothing really.
And
happened.
My second point is like, where are other production houses? You know, do they exist? Do we have them?
The thing is, Joe, they're always aiming at foreign productions. Unfortunately, it's I mean, I understand. Yes, I'm not saying don't work in servicing, but it's imploding the local industry. And don't get me wrong, there are some people still, like with the few resources that they have, they make fantastic stuff, which I'm really looking forward to seeing.
Yeah. Anything else you want to add, Joe?
No, but I mean, I probably sounded a bit too negative there. It does look promising, and apparently people that have gone to special preview screenings have said it's good. I would hope to be able to see this in the UK, though I doubt it. Hopefully there'll be some kind of special screening when I'm in Malta, or if anyone from Take-Two is watching this, I'll happily take a private screener. I'll watch it for you. I doubt that, to be completely honest, but you never know. But no, it is a good thing that it's being made, and I hope it does make at least some sort of a splash with locals, and locals see that we are capable of making films to a professional standard, and maybe things change.
Yeah. Franco?
So let's start with the cons. The trailer is too long. 3 minutes trailer, you're giving up too much. There are some moments where there are particular moments where we're afraid of shadows. There's one, the lighting is so, I think it was the top shot. This you cannot do anything. The sun in Malta is what it is. But there was a top shot of that bedside.
This one?
And it doesn't have too much contrast. And even the next one, the one after it, it's kind of. I mean, the color looks good. Like there's a blue, so the certain attention to detail is there. But then the lighting, it's like, where's the contrast? Gives me
very flat.
Let's see, and this is so much different. You know, this is so much like one light. That's it, done. So I don't know. I mean, other than that, I'm looking forward to watching it. I'm not. Don't get me wrong. I'm like, I'll bite my tongue until I watch the whole thing. Seems like an interesting. I haven't read the book, didn't see the play. Seems like an interesting concept as well. There are some interesting shots, so I think it will be. We'll see how it is. I mean, the actors obviously. I'm not gonna say anything bad about the actors because they always give their utmost, you know. We need more like this. Joe's right. I think the thing is for me. I was thinking about it recently. I'd rather not focus too much. Because I was thinking a lot about the Roger Corman model of filmmaking, where basically you give opportunity to anyone to do a movie, and then you get to a point where these guys, once they get the gist of filmmaking and they are masters of their craft, they go on and do their own stuff. Martin Scorsese started under Roger Corman. Francis Ford Coppola under Roger Corman. Most probably there were other people that started under Roger Corman, and I think the industry, what we should do is, okay, put as many films out. Doesn't matter the quality as it is. I mean, and sometimes you can do a great film with the shittiest quality. You know, it's like we've seen Maxime's trailer, which was very funny, but it was made on purpose. Like he just took on that sort of quality and ran with it. So that was very interesting thing to do as well. I think it's let's see if it stays long. There are some moments where it seems we have for me the benchmark. I should see something as good as a benchmark as Lutzu, especially with regards of filming and contrast and the way the colors are made. And again, I'm seeing this over on a screen, so let's be charitable about this. Right? When we see it in
Facebook,
cinema,
because the Facebook quality is the bitrate for Facebook is horrific. So probably watching it in the cinema, I think it'll look much better. Anything else, Franco?
I encourage people to go watch it. Like for example, this shot, that one. You were on it. No, back.
This one.
Forward. No. There was that light, that shard of light. Back. No, not back. Forward. Sorry, my fault. Forward. This one. This looks great.
Yeah, more or less, I'm on the same opinion as you guys. Having watched this full trailer, this 3-minute trailer, the score sounds great. I really like the score. I like what they're doing with the vocals in the background. Visually, it's inconsistent. Sometimes it looks fantastic. Sometimes
this
looks.
This is amazing. For example, and the transition to it was great.
Sometimes it looks fantastic. Red lighting, some of the green here. Sometimes it looks like in some of the dark scenes you can barely see anything. Again, I don't know if it's just the fact that it's on Facebook, or we'll judge it in the cinema. It's a little slightly inconsistent, but overall I'd say much more positive.
That's my cousin. That's my cousin.
It's good to see.
Keeping it in the family.
It's good to see Simone making a film, because she's more of a theater person than a film person. I'd spoken to her after Bruce's latest event. She said she's getting a bit more into films, which is good to see. She's a great actress. Overall, I'm very positive about this and very much looking forward to watching it on the 20th. Very few tickets left for anyone interested in going to watch it. We got tickets pretty much in the front.
Oh, okay.
So we're going to be right in the thick of it.
We're gonna pick it apart. No, that's how. No.
We're gonna be right in the thick of it, because I completely forgot. I thought I had bought tickets, and I'm like, wait, I haven't bought tickets yet. Shit. So yes, I think much more positive than negative. Mostly the lighting for me looks good. Sometimes a little inconsistent here and there. But yeah, I think we need much more of this, like serious filmmaking in Malta. Like this is a good starting point. And like you said, Franco, the benchmark is Lutzu, right? Lutzu has to be the benchmark. If you're making a film, okay, you're not gonna have although Lutzu had a decent budget, right, Joe? You had worked on a little bit on Lutzu.
I had worked as a trainee for a month. A small budget, but it
wasn't it half the budget of the short, by the way, if I'm not mistaken?
Somewhere along those lines, yes.
And that's so
that's saying something. But yeah, I think again, like you said, I agree completely that Lutzu should be the benchmark, and that's the quality we should be going for.
Not saying Lutzu is a perfect film, but like let's make it clear. I mean, but it is the benchmark. As far as quality is concerned. So.
I think this is probably I don't know. Again, we have to watch the whole film, right, and watch it in the cinema. That's how we're going to judge it. I think this has massive potential, though, especially with the themes it's dealing with. Kind of like societal themes and family, which we know in Malta we know what they are. I think if it delves into those themes well and gives us some really well-written characters, I think this film has massive potential. We'll see. But it's so far very positive with what we've gotten from the trailer.
Is it going only to be out on the 20th? That's it?
No, that's the premiere. Then it's going to be showcased, I believe, in Eden for a few more days.
Okay. No, but I encourage people to watch it, make their own decisions. This is just our opinions over here, guys. Support local filmmakers.
100%. So, shall we get into the reviews, guys? Because there wasn't much in the way of news this week.
There wasn't much in the way of news. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. 1 second. I mean, it's just a small thing. Just a small thing.
For these lover of streamers out there and the Gen Zers, because we are so over Gen Z right now. We are millennials.
We just had this small comment by Harmony Corrin who said that, long story short, I Show Speed is the new Tarkovsky. Now, for anyone here who has no idea who I Show Speed is, he's a very, 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 very popular streamer. He does a lot of. He used to do a lot of FIFA streaming. Now he does. He's more into like reality stuff.
IRL streaming, like he did recently. He jumped over 3 Ferraris. If it's true, if it's real or not, doesn't know.
He's the guy. He's the guy who's constantly chasing Ronaldo, shouting "Sue," Sue, constantly mispronouncing and misnaming footballers. Yeah, Joe.
Funny thing about Harmony Corrin, whilst I was in Malta, myself and a friend of mine attempted to watch his latest film,
Agro Drift.
Now, I am not a fan of Harmony Corrin's films. I think they're very weakly scripted. I think they're very much style over substance. And I think he's also a little bit of a pretentious douchebag, if you ask me. But I decided to give this a chance because it looked pretty cool. Now, from a visual side of things, it's very interesting, and he's trying new things with the genre. It's essentially about this, like, I didn't even know what it was about. We watched like 30 minutes, and we were both kind of just like, we can't take this kind of sensory overload. But it involves this hitman doing this like one big hit, which is going to set them up for life. And as you can see on the images there, the entire film is in that infrared kind of style, and the soundscape is constant, and there isn't really any dialogue between people. It's like mostly voiceover from this protagonist. And then there's aspects of where he's used AI to import certain graphics, and it's very video gamey. And if you presented this to me as a 10-minute short of what you can do with AI and visuals, I would have been like, okay, really, really cool exercise. But there's just,
I think,
for me, not enough going on. And we got to the point where I said we watched about 30 minutes of it, and we were both just like, we feel like we're on acid, and we cannot take this.
I think this was a segment. It's basically a segment, but stretched out of Travis Scott 1 hour music video, if I'm not mistaken. This one. Because,
Travis Scott is in this as well, and I can't tell you where he is because everyone is completely unidentifiable because you look like you're looking at them through the Predator's mask.
Yeah. No, and it's because Travis Scott, if I'm not mistaken, he worked with Harmony Korine and 2 other directors. I forgot the other 2 directors on this epic music video. And one of the segments was basically infrared photography. Mm-hmm. And I think this is the segment, but stretched out with the rest of the material, most probably. And back to that article, he did say he's trying to do something interesting. He wants to make a movie where basically the characters are in your bedroom, and it's a horror, which makes sense. Like there was actually,
he definitely has interesting ideas. I think he's someone. He has all the right ingredients, but not the right recipe. If that makes any sense.
That's what.
And I do think he's a little bit up himself as well, from like comments I've seen him pass.
But then again, it would be interesting. I'm like, Wouldn't it be filmed theater if he does film in like IRL streaming? It's almost film theater.
Almost, yes, and it's a very interesting idea.
No,
I don't know how you pull it off. We'll find out, I suppose. Maybe you need to get an Apple Vision Pro to experience this.
No, that's VR. VR. There's, I think James Wan did a monster feature, a short monster feature in VR for sure. James Wan. But I mean, the technology is there because you can change shots. It would be like how shall I say? It's like in IRL editing, most probably.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else you want to add about this, guys? Because we have a lot of reviews now to get through.
No. I'm okay.
Well, viewers and listeners, don't forget to leave a like if you're enjoying the podcast. Like. We have 11 viewers right now. Hope you're enjoying the podcast. We're now going to get into the reviews. Joe, do you want to start off with Blink Twice? Get through that?
Sure. Yeah.
We'll do Blink Twice. Then we'll do Terminator Zero. Then we've got first thoughts on Chaos and Rings of Power. Rings of Power Season 2.
I'll leave you at Rings of Power. I'll let you guys duke it out, basically.
But you're the biggest Lord of the Rings fan I've ever met. Why would you leave for that?
Yeah. Like Tolkien actually wrote me some letters as well.
Okay.
No.
Is that the one where he stated that orc women must have existed?
Oh, what? Sorry.
That's actually true. There's a lot of people fucking shitting the bed because there's an orc woman in one of the episodes, and they're like, "This is incorrect," and it's like, no, there's actually no canonical answer as to how orcs were actually created.
No, I think it's more, the issue with that was more kind of like the orcs not wanting to go to war.
Joe. Like, what do you always say? These are fucking fantasy characters.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Franco.
Yes. I'm sorry. And that's an aspect of the episode I don't really like as well, and I will be annoyed if they go down some kind of arc of like righteous turncoat orc, which is actually kind of original if you think about it. But I think it is just a useless little tidbit in an episode.
Franco, I want to imagine this creation that is bred for war. The whole point of the orc, the whole point of orc society never works, and the reason why is because they're constantly fighting with each other. Because all they know how to do is fight. And then you see this orc turning to his wife and child and begging Arda not to go to war because they feel happy and safe where they are. It's like, I mean, I'm not gonna hate on it. Like, it didn't do anything to me.
I mean,
and I'm like, really?
I mean, that's
to play devil's advocate, they are sentient beings.
No, but it is taking a page out of Warcraft, bro. World of Warcraft, eh?
Yeah.
No, but Warcraft is different.
Yeah, exactly. It's strange because as far as I remember, this is also like retconning the origins of orcs. Because as far as I've seen, I remember in the original trilogy, the orcs are just created and even.
But that's because they're controlled by Sauron. To be fair, it does make sense. Listen, I completely understand what they're trying to go for. I think the execution is done very poorly in that element. But I know that they're trying to show that these are the orcs before Sauron took full control, and then we'll see them after, obviously. Yes. Where again, but even before Sauron, orc society could never function because they were constantly fighting with each other.
Can we just have plain simple evil, not really making them like humanized evil?
Yeah, we're trying to ship Sauron and Galadriel.
No, I think that's done. The shipping of like an actual relationship. I think that is actually done.
Anyway,
hopefully, but we'll get into that later on.
Yes.
Because. Joe, I'm curious to see your thoughts on Zoe Kravitz's directorial debut. I haven't gone to watch it yet. I'll try and find some time this week. Go and watch it, maybe midweek.
Keep me posted.
Yes,
because I want to watch this as well.
So, Joe, what do you think about Blink Twice?
So, as you mentioned, Zoe Kravitz's directorial debut, she also wrote this. This was the film formerly known as Pussy Island, which I kind of wish it still had that name. But I guess for obvious reasons it does not. Starring Channing Tatum, Naomi Ackie, and Adria Arjona, amongst others. There's also Christian Slater in this film. There's what's his name from The Sixth Sense. Oh, I forget his name. Haley Joel Osment. Aliyah Shawkat as well. And I mean, the setup is very simple. Two roommates who live together who work in a catering job in Naomi Aki's character and Aliyah Shawkat's. Naomi Aki's character has got a bit of an obsession with this billionaire, Slater. I forget his full. This is a really
Slater,
yeah, but it's Slater King, I think it was. And they happen to be catering an event for him, and through means of like mingling and drinking, they end up going to his very fancy billionaire island. Now, the film does state from the off, so I don't think it's like a spoiler, that this Slater King person had undergone some form of controversy, and he recently gave up control as CEO of his company in order to like go to therapy and apologize for what he did. So like, I mean, this was called like the kind of like soft Me Too movie. It definitely is. And it's taking inspirations from terrible real life stories, such as the whole Epstein Island thing and stuff like that. And it is a bit of a weird one. It is at the same time quite impressive that this is a debut from someone who has seemingly never directed before, but it's also fairly underwhelming at the same time. And the main reason it was that for me is the film looks incredible and it's edited really, really well. There are plenty of needle drops of good songs, and the cast are all pretty well like put into their roles. But because I saw this in Malta, I had an intermission so I can actually split the film into a first half and a second half. Nothing really happens between characters in the first half of this film. And I mean that to say is no one really talks to each other or develops. At most, people say 3 or 4 lines to each other, and then it goes to some form of montage, whether they're drinking or they're moving to a different location or they're having dinner, and there's a certain like quip here and there for like comedic purposes, and nothing really happens in that first half of the film. There is this air of like something bad is going to happen at this island, and like that's the reason why you're going into this film. But then at least in the second half, it really fleshes it out, and it gets probably a bit more action heavy, a bit more things actually go down between characters, and the stakes are significantly raised. And the second half of the film is a lot more impressive and a lot more fun and entertaining. One thing I'm really not sure of is the ending and what it's trying to say. And this isn't me saying that for a film to be meaningful, it has to say anything, because it does not. You can enjoy it for entertainment's sake. A film can be made purposely for entertainment's sake. But with subject matter such as this, which is still pretty topical today, still part of the zeitgeist, I suppose, and Jeffrey Epstein is still very fresh in the memories of most people, as is the Me Too movement. I feel like this film sent a very odd message. And I think people will disagree with me when I say that. I think some people will say that it's very much a girl power message. I personally don't think it is the right girl power message to say, but you can say, stupid straight white male disagrees with female empowerment. I think it's the wrong kind of power that they're going for in this film, to speak about it without spoiling anything. But as I said, it's on the one hand very impressive, really well edited, but at the same time a little bit disappointing. It's kind of like the perfect 3 out of 5 in a way, where it's doing enough good things for me to go like, like there's some really good things going on in this film. There are some good ideas. There's very good camera work, but then it doesn't do enough with its script where I can really like find something to chew on. That's definitely the weakest aspect. I'd love to see Zoe Kravitz direct again. I'd like to see her take another stab at screenwriting, or even better, collaborate with someone who is primarily a screenwriter, and I think you get something very, very good out of that. But overall, it's just fine. It's
Fair enough. So it's a 3 out of 5 from you.
Yeah, I'd be curious to see what you guys think about it, and especially with what I said about how it decides to tie things up. I was a little bit like, don't know if that's the message we should send with a film as topical as this, but I can be wrong sometimes, I guess.
Is the ending, Joe, similar to Oh Lord, what's the one we argued a lot about last Christmas? Not last Christmas, the Christmas before.
Everything everywhere all at once.
No. The
Tar.
murder mystery. No, not Tar. No, Tar.
Glass
I love
Onion?
Tar. Glass Onion. Is the ending similar to Glass Onion? Because that's the impression I get.
I don't even remember the ending of Glass Onion. I'll be completely honest.
Where she burns everything.
No, it's not.
Who was the character who burnt everything? I completely forgot it. But
And-
there was
and-
one female character who burnt everything. I remember. Who burnt.
Yeah, no, it's not a similar ending to that.
Okay. Because that's the impression I got. Okay. We'll see. So we'll try and go and watch it. Yeah, this week, Franco.
All right.
And see our thoughts. So that is Blink Twice. Moving on. Franco, do you want to talk about Terminator Zero?
Terminator Zero, the first three
First
episodes.
impressions. Yeah, first impressions.
I forgot that there was time travel in Terminator, and I was watching it. I'm like, what's wait? Oh yes, there was time travel. And then the third episode, I think it was the second episode where they showed that they basically traveled back in time. So the first episode started off strong, especially with the action. Obviously, I think with the animation they try and take as much liberty as possible with certain stunts, so to speak. You know, I mean, it's animation after all. There is something. It's as if they cut corners, and the animation. I wish that they had more care, especially in the walking and certain details. Then on the good side, there's also the converse. It's like the creator of one of the AIs. It's as if he's having a philosophical argument of convincing the AI not to be
With Kokoro.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was interesting, and I was actually surprised by what he said about there's nothing to save. There's nothing to save humans. Was like, oh, okay. Like I would have found something, despite me being cynical as well. But he was extremely nihilistic almost. I'm going to see, but I saw some reviews where they say it's convoluted. It's not convoluted at all. Like I am understanding what's happening, and don't expect having a time travel narrative without it being necessarily convoluted, because once you create a new timeline, anything can happen. And there's this idea of I like how they took it a bit more philosophically, that there's this idea of fate, whether things will happen the way they happen, or if you're able to change the future, basically. But again, I'm 3 episodes in, might complete it. Depends if it holds my interest.
I'm enjoying it so far. I'd say just as Blink Twice, according to Joe, was a perfect 3. I think this is the perfect 3.5, where it's good. You know, the animation overall, I was quite happy with it. The violence is very bloody. The action is very bloody, nice and bloody, just as you need it to be. And the animation style is perfect for that kind of action, I believe. Sometimes my big issue with these kinds of anime is where you have the big antagonist who is the perfect warrior, the perfect fighter against the grunts, but then acts like an idiot with the protagonists, which is somewhat what you see in this series, unfortunately, because the protagonist lets a kid run underneath them, lets the main female character jump around and doesn't hit them, but then when the Terminator shoots at one of the grunts, like perfect shots every time.
But remember, this is the earliest models now of the Terminator.
Yes,
so
but
there was.
Then when they're taking on the police, for example, in episode 4, it's like gunning down all of them with ease. Okay, what, can't you catch a little kid? So you have to kind of switch off your brain a little for those elements.
Yes.
But apart from that, I think again, very well done action, beautifully showcased, very bloody. The lights from the Terminator, very intimidating when you see the red light coming from the eyes of the Terminator.
The sound.
As fuck.
the sound design and the soundtrack is quite good. I'm liking the sound design and soundtrack.
The soundtrack is really good, really good, really good. There's the nice doom 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 every now and then included in the soundtrack. Yes, it's brought me back, and it's reminding me. It's been a while since I watched the first two Terminators, because there are only two Terminator movies, and I need to rewatch the only two Terminator movies that have ever released. Apart from the most recent one, Joe. Apparently that was quite decent. No, you said.
Which one?
Or was it you, Franco?
Tim Miller. It was the one. The
most recent one, the Dark
Fate.
I gave up after Salvation.
Yeah, so did I. So no, Salvation never existed. There are only two movies, and potentially three, but I don't know about the third one.
No, the third one I liked as a kid, but I don't think I will like it now.
No, it's the third one doesn't hold, but the
Dark Fate. That's the one.
Dark Fate, yeah.
I will say in the third one, I do like how Arnold Schwarzenegger's Terminator kills the other one and the line he delivers, because it was extremely 80s and corny, where he sticks the bomb in her mouth and says, "You have been terminated." I'm like, that scratches an itch that I didn't know I had.
That's so good. Diva. Yeah, good stuff. But yes, overall, I will agree. Terminator 0. Overall, I'll say that, yeah, I'm very happy with what I've watched so far. I think this is a classic 3.5. I don't know about you, Franco, so far from what you...
I agree. It's 3.3, 3.5. It's, like, if fans of anime will eat this up, I am satisfied overall. So.
Yeah, so that's Terminator 0. Joe, do you want to give your first impressions for Chaos?
Yes, I will keep it very brief, because I don't have a lot to say, because I've only seen 2 episodes.
Damn, number 2 in IMDb.
Trending.
What I will say is, this is a show which will easily pander to me, because as a child I had quite an unhealthy obsession with Greek mythology. So for me, taking a spin on the fall of the gods, but in a modern era, very cool. I'm in already. And mostly I have fairly enjoyed it so far. I think Goldblum is pretty perfect as Zeus. He pulls off that like extremely insecure, power hungry, but scared to lose power douchebag, which Zeus needs to be. And I like the use of Prometheus as the narrator in the show as well. Like it looks great. It's very darkly comic as well. So I'll probably see it out, but I only had time to watch 2 episodes. But my opinion of it so far is it's so far done enough in 2 episodes to go like, you know what, I'll go into a third, and then we'll see if the third takes me into a 4th, and to however many episodes there are. It's pretty light stuff so far, but it's getting some very strange reviews. There's a lot of people who are saying like, oh, Goldblum is great, but the show is really shallow. I saw like The Guardian called it like a modern masterpiece, and it's really thoughtful and very deep. So some reviews are a bit all over the place on this, but I mean 7.4 on IMDb. People seem to be fairly enjoying it, I would say.
Yes, even on Rotten Tomatoes, the critics is 60% and the Rotten Tomatoes is 80%.
69%.
Sergio, okay.
I'm looking at it now because coincidentally I just switched on Rotten Tomatoes to see. Yeah.
So
interesting. It's like we've had the Disney Plus series, which was about Greek mythology as well. Which I quite enjoyed. What was that called? My name is
Percy Jackson.
This Percy Jackson one, which is getting a season 2 now. I quite enjoyed that. I love Greek mythology stuff, so I think this would be right up my alley. I just have to finish Terminator 0 and start that then. Yeah. Okay, so that's Chaos. Shall we get into Rings of Power, Mila? Season 2?
Let's do it.
Yeah. I leave you guys. Enjoy the duking out. Chat, please. Comment. Do chat with us, guys. There's 10 people watching. Say hi, and we don't bite as like we're not orcs. Basically, we're not the orcs.
I bite sometimes.
Yeah, just jaw bites, but sometimes you have to take him off the leash. You know what?
Or with the orcs in Rings of Power, who don't want to go to war but want to take care of their family.
Exactly.
The one orc.
That one orc. Enjoy, guys. Great episode as usual, and see you this week, Andrea, and see you next week, Joe.
See you then.
Exactly.
Tschüss.
See you, Franco.
Bye.
All right. So, Rings of Power Season 2. Joe, do you want to start off, or do you want me to start off?
I'll start off. It will start off on a more positive note if I start.
Or do you want to go episode by episode, or shall we do a whole three together?
No, I'll do the whole three together.
Okay, so go through the whole three of them, and then I'll get one by one then.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if anyone remembers when we covered season 1, I was definitely more of a fan than you were over the show. I definitely think it was not without its faults. It was a very, very flawed show, particularly the first 6 episodes of the 10 that they made, I believe. It was very slow. The dialogue was sometimes decent, sometimes very bad. But then it was clearly expensive. They clearly do want to do something with this IP that they paid a lot of money for, with the money that they are spending on it. And then for myself, huge Lord of the Rings fan, huge fan of Tolkien as well. Just on the flight back to Scotland, I decided to watch The Return of the King again. Cried throughout, as I always do. So I'm prepared to give this show a chance, because they're not doing the Disney thing that Disney did with Star Wars over here. They're going to an era which has not even really been very much written about, because Tolkien didn't write a lot about the Second Age. It's mostly indexes in the Silmarillion and in the Lord of the Rings where we know about events that happened in this. And they're trying some new things. Sometimes they're not very good. Sometimes I'm like, okay, pretty decent idea that you've got there. But when this second season released, we got the first 3 episodes in one day, then we will get them weekly. Critics were already a lot more positive than they were on the first season with this one, saying it's a lot more epic, that it gets to the point a lot quicker. And so far, I tend to agree, particularly with the getting to the point a lot more quicker, because in a show called The Rings of Power, we want to see the Rings of Power being made. We want to see the 3 rings given to the elves, the 7 to the dwarf lords, and the 9 to the men. And we kind of need to get to that point, right? And that's how we're going to get the rise of Sauron and stuff like the fall of Numenor, and all these huge events that then eventually lead to the War of the Ring and the fall of Sauron, and eventually the Lord of the Rings, of course. And again, these first 3 episodes, more in the third than in the first 2, again, are nowhere near perfect. But I found myself, at least in these first 3 episodes, buying in a lot quicker than I did in the first season. Particularly in the first episode, where like fairly immediately I thought that opening scene was great.
Excellent.
I was
Really
like, holy
good.
shit! I was like, this is actually really good.
Yes, that was brilliant. Lovely, brutal scene.
Exactly. I was immensely confused at first when it started. Then I'm like, oh no, this is obviously way before any of this shit went down. But I thought it was really cool, and I thought the first episode was definitely the strongest. The second was also fairly strong. The third definitely the weakest of the 3. But I'm buying in and I'm giving this a chance. For me, it hasn't done anything egregious enough to go like, this is fucking bullshit. And this is pandering to me. I just love being in this world, and I like that this is kind of like an expensive fan fiction, or like at the same time. There are certain things I wish, not even I wish, that I'd prefer they not do, because as I said, this is not a perfect show by any means. But so far, with these first 3 episodes, I think it's off to a good start, more than a decent start. Like, I'm actually excited to see what will come in episode 4, because season 1, we had so much setup to do with so many characters and so many like different power systems as well, where you can kind of not forgive it, but you can understand why it was so slow to get going, and then it really ramped up in those final 2 episodes. The best thing about this one is it just goes, boom, we're in. Sauron is already established. He's actually my favorite character in this so far, and I think he's the best performer.
I want Sauron to win.
I think it's also a case of he's also just got the best dialogue.
Yes, 100%.
To deliver, and Charlie Vickers is fantastic.
And he's a fantastic actor. Yeah.
I do think characters who are weaker in the first season, such as Galadriel and Elrond, I do think they're a little bit better over here.
You didn't like Elrond in season 1.
I thought he was a little bit underused.
All right. So I really liked Elrond in season 1. That's one of the few positives I had from
Yeah.
season 1.
I thought in the first season Galadriel was a little bit all over the place, but now
Yes.
looking back, it does kind of make more sense because now she's got to find her purpose in this fight against Sauron and preventing his evil. I do think Celebrimbor so far has been a little bit of an afterthought, but I do hope that now, not to spoil anything with the situation he's in, he's going to develop more as a character, hopefully.
I think Celebrimbor so far has been very good. The reason why I would say the actor has been doing a decent job so far is the actor has a really tough job in that he needs to make a character make mistakes.
Yes.
Because the character has to make lots of mistakes. But at the same time, Celebrimbor is one of the smartest.
The greatest smith that's ever existed in this universe.
You have to portray a character who makes mistakes without making that character look dumb.
Yes.
Which is a very tough job, which I believe, especially in episode 2, that was great. That was showed really well. So on that, I will 100% agree.
They're doing things which, I mean, you and I had a whole conversation about the stuff with Numenor. They are doing things which are contrived and they are not perfect. But I also think they're doing them because a difficult job that they have. I don't know how many seasons this is confirmed for. I think it's at least 5 seasons.
Mm-hmm.
They need to cover a couple 100 years in 5 seasons.
Oh, they're skipping hundreds of years.
Yes, no, exactly. Even the first season skipped hundreds of years. Which I
like
don't really
even
care.
the forging of the rings is completely mixed up.
Exactly, yes. I don't really care about that too much in terms of timeline. But I think that's why we're getting some contrivances here and there. Because I guess in the writer's room, they're not thinking of a better way to do it. And I'm not going to say I know a better way to do it, and it is a little bit contrived how they're choosing to do it. But then I do like that they're choosing to stick to the main lore points of what we do know and what is supposed to happen. But then they are taking some artistic license with other things, which I don't mind. Do we want to have the orc conversation now?
No. Let's actually what I wanted to do, Joe. I wrote down some notes on like the big events of each episode. I don't know if you want to go through them. Like
sure.
Episode 1, for example, I agree completely with you with the whole Sauron scene and Adar, like brilliantly done.
Yeah.
Really well done. Like nice and brutal, just as it should be. The Venom part, I mean, yes, you need to show it visually somehow. I'm sure they could have maybe not done Venom, Sauron, maybe done like a bit of a wisp.
I know, but it's a different representation, I guess.
Yes,
what I did like is that it wasn't long. It was like maybe a minute.
No. Fair enough. And it was quite.
It's over and done with very quickly.
Yes. It's quite cool to see. Which made me think. I completely forgot this part. As I was watching it, I was like, okay, so Sauron puts part of himself into the ring so that he can never be fully killed.
Yeah.
So how do you fully kill Sauron now before the One Ring?
So it's complicated because
I completely forgot.
My knowledge is a bit now sporadic because it's been years since I read the Silmarillion. I've been meaning to listen to like an actual audiobook of it because it's a difficult read.
There's a very good audiobook on YouTube. I was listening to it coincidentally.
But the Sauron thing is weird because he's, I guess, like this all evil ethereal being, disciple of Morgoth, and that's where he also kind of derives his power from as well. But I mean, this isn't really. It kind of is a spoiler because I guess they'll depict it in the show at some point. They have not depicted it yet, but like it's in a textbook that you can read. After the fall of Numenor, he loses his ability to take fair forms, and that's why eventually we get big armored Titan Sauron after the forming of the Ring of Power. But yeah, because as well, I mean, we'll talk about it when we get to then the whole orc conversation as well. There are blind spots in this, which Tolkien also decided not to explain himself.
Yes, 100%, 100%. As in depth as Tolkien goes into, I mean, there's only so much you can write in one lifetime. So that's very true. But anyways, I thought the scene was really well done. I thought it was excellent start. And episode 1 overall, I had a really good time watching. Like you said, One thing that I dislike about this, I don't know what you think, Joe, if maybe I'm exaggerating a bit here, is I sometimes feel like characters do things and then I've mentioned this in the chat, and then don't face consequences for their action. For example, Galadriel, we know that now even Gil-galad knows that Galadriel was quite responsible for Sauron coming back to power, right?
Yes.
In that she befriended him and trusted him. And we also see Elrond running away and disobeying Gil-galad with the three elven rings.
Yeah.
And those two characters kind of like, it's completely forgotten that they've done these rather bad things in a way. Like disobeying Gil-galad is like a massive thing. And it's kind of forgotten in a way.
In the case of Elrond, I understand you a lot more because he's just defied his king there and then. In the case of Galadriel, this is the prime time of Sauron the Deceiver. She had no idea he was Sauron. She was completely deceived. What she did do, which was bad, which Gil-galad calls out many times, is that as soon as she found out, she did not exactly spill the beans immediately. Now, I think currently I'm just going to give it the complete benefit of the doubt and say it's too soon to say what sort of consequences they're going to suffer. I do feel like Gil-galad has a bit of a, I'm going to use this to my advantage in future. But ultimately, Gil-galad has also gotten what he wanted with the Rings of Power as well.
Yes,
so we can't ignore that fact as well.
And in fact, talking about the rings, I thought Círdan, the actor for Círdan, is like perfect.
Yes.
Perfect elf. Like we're talking about one of the oldest elves in existence, if not the oldest.
The wisest elf that ever lived.
I think the actor showcases that really well. Maybe the scene could have been done a bit better in the boat rocking. I mean, it could have just been him looking at the rings and thinking and you know, being manipulated by the rings in a certain sense. But I think the actor does it really well. And overall, I think that whole scene with the rings, one of the rings falling in front of Galadriel, it's true that wasn't the way it was done in the lore, but I mean, it's fine. It's more or less accurate in that there's Gil-galad, Galadriel, and Círdan who get the rings. That's all well and good. I'm happy with all of that. My issues then start with the Rune plotline, for example. Now, I was very excited for the Rune plotline because of how cool Rune is. Even just seeing the soldiers in the Lord of the Rings, just their armor, just looking at their armor is just so bloody cool. And when I used to play, did you ever play Battle for Middle-earth, Joe?
I did, yes.
Oh my God, I love the soldiers of Rune so much. I'd give them all the armor and the powerful weapons and just have them with their pikes out and killing everyone. I love everything about Rune. So I was really excited about that. It's getting very samey to the Fellowship of the Ring in a certain sense, in that you've got Gandalf, Frodo, and now Sam.
Yeah, that's actually something.
Coming with you.
That's something which I'm kind of coming around on, but I also don't know how they're going to get around it. And that's the identity of the stranger. Now, people seem to be hell-bent on the fact that it is Gandalf.
Gand, he needs a Gand.
Yes, and it very well could be, and it likely is.
Or it might be Saruman.
It very well could be as well. It could just be one of the Blue Wizards who were confirmed to be in Middle-earth during the Second Age.
Could be as well.
I would rather it is one of the Blue Wizards, but
100%.
I also don't hate that it could potentially be Gandalf as long as they develop the character properly.
I mean, Gandalf never went to Rune. Let's make that clear. Gandalf never went to Rune. I'd be very happy if this was Saruman. I actually saw a post on this on Twitter where guys compared the Dark Wizard's staff to Saruman's, and they look very similar. And it's like, I think that this is Saruman. That's why I mentioned Saruman, because I saw this tweet on Twitter. And it's like he's going to defeat the Dark Wizard, take his staff, and we'll find out that it's actually Saruman, not Gandalf. Which I think would be very interesting.
Yeah.
I'd rather it's Saruman or one of the other wizards than
Yes.
Gandalf. Let's be clear.
But
Yeah.
as I said, I wouldn't hate if it was Gandalf, because then like his affinity for halflings, it makes sense, you know.
That's also true.
That's
That's
the,
also true.
the people he's been saved by, and the first people he saw on Middle Earth were halflings, and that's why he gains his affinity. It's not the worst origin story that I've ever seen. It remains to be seen who it actually ends up being, because the thing I don't know how they get around, because the Lord of the Rings rights issues overall are like some of the worst distributed rights in the world, from the video games to the books to the films to what's owned. Now, Amazon only have the rights to the indexes that depict the Second Age. And
Exactly.
I don't know if Gandalf is part of that.
No, he's not. Third
So
Age.
I don't think they can use the name Gandalf in it.
No, they can't.
Or
No, they
even-
can't use the name. They can't use the name.
or
Not even hobbits.
or even Mithrandir. Like, I don't
Exactly.
think.
No. Because it's all Third Age. Gandalf is all Third
Yeah.
Age. He appears right after. Doesn't he appear right after Sauron is defeated?
I'm
I believe.
that up, but everything says here, no, he was not in the Second Age.
Yeah, he appears in the Third Age, I believe, right
Yeah.
after Sauron is defeated. So, or with there and thereabouts, because my memory is horrific. So it's going to be interesting to see how they deal
Yeah,
with this.
the only wizards that appeared in Middle Earth in the Second Age were the Blue Wizards,
Okay, so it has to be a blue wizard then.
Alatar and Palando. Like,
But there are so many red herrings.
I mean, to
even
be
at
fair,
one
they-
point,
they
did you
pulled
notice
one-
the sound? Joe, did you notice the sound at one point when he was fighting with like the typhoon?
Yeah.
It like sounds exactly like Ian McKellen. Like exactly.
I know, but I think they could be going for another red herring again, because even how that character is introduced in season 1 is a complete red herring. The way he turns up in the ball of fire, you go, this is Sauron straight away.
That's also true.
As soon as he turns up, and then up until he actually reveals himself as a wizard and not Sauron, you're thinking the whole time, this guy is actually secretly evil and he's Sauron. But I don't know how they'll get around it if it is. Maybe he's Gandalf, they just never call him that by name, you know, which will will be strange. I would like them to just go with Blue Wizard route, you know.
Also, can we talk about Kieran Hines? I'm looking forward to seeing.
Yes,
his
I
character.
had no idea he was going to do
Neither
this,
did I.
and I was just like hand up at the screen. I'm like, I'm here for this straight away.
Yeah, I hope that plot line gets developed a bit more, and I just like forget Eminem. Like, it
Yeah.
looks really awkward. Just give me Kieran Hines, like fighting with the stranger. That's what we need. And hopefully the two hobbits died as well, but I know they didn't,
No, they definitely.
because I can't stand their accent. I cannot stand their
Do you
accent.
hate the Irish?
I love the Irish, but that's not the Irish accent. I'm sorry. I lived in Ireland for
it's
4 or 5 months.
I believe it, but yours was Northern Ireland, no, where you stayed.
I was in Northern Ireland, yeah.
Yeah, theirs is more Republic of Ireland. I can't say from what region, but it is definitely Irish.
It sounds awkward. But anyways, then episode 2 focuses more on the dwarves. That's the drama between Durin and his father. There's Disa. I think all the Disa stuff is done really well.
Yeah,
And she's
I
just a
think
fantastic character.
Peter Mullen as Durin is fantastic as well. Like,
I think
very
most of the
good
dwarf
bit
stuff is
casting.
good.
Yeah,
Most of the dwarf stuff is really well done. I like that it's the fact that this is like the darkness coming from Mordor, which is causing the earthquakes. Overall, the dwarf stuff I really enjoy.
yeah,
And I enjoyed it even in season 1. Like the whole Elrond Durin stuff.
yeah.
Was
I like
the
that they're
best
honing
part.
in on the pride of the dwarfs, and I like that.
And obviously the relationship developing between Eregion and the dwarves.
Yes,
That's like a big part of it all.
huge.
So that's good to see it starting off here. And I like even the fact that he's suspicious of well, we'll talk about him now in a bit, but he's suspicious of Anatar. He's like, wait, Elrond would never say I'm like, well, how was it? Elrond would never say I'm one of the best dwarves, or I forgot what he's like instantly suspicious of, like, wait,
Yeah,
Elrond wouldn't say that.
exactly.
Like no best friend would ever say that about their best friend.
Yeah,
So it's nice to see that he's suspicious of Anatar, which leads me to the whole Anatar scene. Joe, you enjoyed it quite a bit. I enjoyed it quite a bit myself.
yes, it's a fantastic end to that episode.
Yeah, it's
And again,
really
it is prime Sauron the Deceiver at this point in time.
Like that is, I think, as lore accurate as this show has ever been, in my opinion.
And
It's
even can we talk about just the look of him when he's Anatar is fantastic as well. Like
that whole scene.
Yeah, that was one where I was like, I need to watch episode 3 immediately.
Yeah, which unfortunately was my big disappointment because I was enjoying myself very much.
I was hugely disappointed, but I was just like, I was deflated more than anything.
Yeah,
with episode 3.
Because you get such a big ending to episode 2, and I'm like, whoa, this is so fucking cool. This is like perfect, like exactly how I would have imagined such a scene taking place with, like even the visuals in the background, very like I don't know how to describe it, but you know, like showcasing a being that is not from this world, right? And then episode 3 happens, and you get a reference to the Lord of the Rings, Two Towers, where you get the Beric saving Isildur, like obviously Aragorn and Brego. That's fine, you know.
I liked that opening a lot.
No, it was fine. There's a spider scene right there as well, where he fights off the spiders. That's not Shelob though, right?
We don't know, but it doesn't matter.
I like watching it. I was like, wait, is this like a young Shelob?
It could very well be, because Shelob is meant to be a couple of thousand years old. But I mean, there have been giant spiders depicted in so many parts of the Lord of the Rings and its universe, like the whole forest segment in The Hobbit. Like, it could just be he happened to be in a giant spider.
Yes. Yeah. And one of the things that I really did not like about this, and this is a consequence of the Lord of the Rings movies being so good, but the elf, specifically Legolas, was always portrayed as this like the stuff he does in the films is sometimes ridiculous, right? The whole shield, skateboarding in the Two Towers was ridiculous. Incredibly fun to watch in the cinema, and everyone was like cheering, but like ridiculous when you think of how serious the stuff being portrayed was. And seeing Garon there do that like jump with his feet is like, oh fuck, man, that's so, it's a little
but it's something that elves have done on screen.
It's very pointless though. Like there's no reason for him to do it. He could just jump over and like
style points.
Well, like that. This is in a way I'm like I really can't complain about this, because this is a consequence of Legolas being so awesome in the original films.
As long as it doesn't get dumber than in the third Hobbit movie, when Legolas kind of stops time and jumps across the rocks, I will forgive any kind of elf acrobatics. Because even rewatching The Return of the King a couple of days ago, and how he takes down the entire Mumakil by himself. I mean, a part of me is just like, cinema magic, give me more of it. But then another part of my brain is like, that's video gamey and dumb as shit. But
that still only counts as one.
Exactly. Like, and then it's going on this huge battle where like King Theoden has been crushed by his horse and dying a couple 100 feet away.
And Eowyn taking on the
Witch King, and this world has done that before.
And Gimli and Legolas having a count off as they kill orcs and Haradrim and whatnot. Oh, so good. But yes, that's a consequence, right? So I can't really complain about it. So there's that was okay. The Numenor stuff, like you said, Joe, is a bit awkward in that you're trying to showcase this like political machinations, and it's just not portrayed well, in my opinion.
They're rushing that part, and that's a very complicated part of the Second Age. I prefer the way they have chosen to make what needs to happen, but I do think it's rushed, because it's more problematic in the history text of it, where I forget his name, but the guy who was eventually king of Numenor, what's his name? Ashkar, whatever the hell his name is. We were talking about him the other day, and I can't remember his name for some reason. But the way he does it, according to what the books say, is problematic in this day and age.
Yes, he marries Miriel, right?
Yeah, he forces her into marriage, and then usurps the throne. So the way it is done here it makes more sense for modern audiences, and it's not a bad way to do it, but it's definitely rushed and a little bit contrived.
Mm-hmm. I would have liked to have seen Farazan be more manipulative and more
That's his name.
showing Farazan, sorry. Showing more how kind of not evil, but his pride in that he thinks like he's and again he's considered as like one of the most handsome and good-looking men ever to ever exist. Like he is perfect, right? And he sees himself as perfect. So I'd rather him be portrayed more as being like this massive douche, really prideful, and at the same time he's manipulating. And there are some manipulations going on here and there, but it's done very, very like, oh yeah, they're shouting in the pub. Like, yeah, I'm not convinced by the whole Numenor scene. No, it doesn't make more sense. RPG adventure. I think are you referring to Farazan marrying Miriel? Yeah. I think he's referring to that. I think it's not really more sense. I think Joe is saying it makes for modern audiences, it's more towards modern sensibilities, kind of. Because it's going to be very hard. You can do it, but maybe not in Lord of the Rings, where you showcase like Farazan.
It becomes.
How do you show it?
It becomes a lot. It becomes a lot darker when you do that. And like, okay, we're talking about the forces of great evil and great good fighting each other, and there's obviously a lot of death depicted on screen, and you can say that that's pretty dark in and of itself. The Lord of the Rings, when it's been put to screen in every adaptation it's had from when it was a children's cartoon to the Peter Jackson films, has had a very light-hearted aspect to it at the same time as well, where it is appropriately dark, but has the moments. I mean, like the character of Gimli is essentially comic relief in those first 3 films, whilst also just being a very likable character. So I get why they wouldn't go down the very dark route of taking away a woman's free will and her right to a throne and forcing her out of it.
Yeah.
For modern sensibilities.
Yeah, it'll be very awkward to portray.
That's not me trying to be overly PC. I wouldn't mind a darker Lord of the Rings.
No, I'd love it, but Amazon are not going to.
No, exactly. They're spending $1 billion on this project.
Realistically, it's not going to be portrayed.
No.
Again, I will say that the 3rd episode was my least favorite, especially because of the Numenor stuff, which is very upsetting because I love Numenor. I love everything about Numenor. Yeah. I love the fact that they're these like 8-foot tall, massive dudes, or supposed to be, not portrayed that way in this show. Like these guys who can easily take on Sauron and defeat him. I love all that about them and how just awesome they are described.
Yeah.
We're yet to see that, right, so far. I mean, at least it's not the elves are coming to take our jobs, Numenor.
Yes,
that was like,
that's coming, though.
Madonna. One elf came to Numenor. They're coming to take our jobs.
Yeah, no, but
Lord.
More of that comes according to the law.
No. Yes. Numenor hating the elves and then traveling and fighting, taking on the elves. That yes, give me that, but not the elves. Galadriel has come to Numenor and they're coming to take our jobs. That's like.
I mean, I don't think it was literally coming to take our jobs. This was
no. He literally he almost
threat. Like.
No, he said it. Didn't he mention the jobs? I need to rewatch it because it's been.
I'll need to rewatch it. I can't comment on whether it was exactly that.
I think jobs were somewhat mentioned, however, in that speech. I remember just a speech in like a public square in Numenor, and a guy complaining, and it's like, oh God, all right, that's Trump. Okay, I get it.
Yeah, I was going to say
on the nose.
On the one hand, that could be appealing to, or rather depicting Trumpism or Brexit Britain, you know?
Yes, but do we really need that in the Lord of the Rings? Like,
no, I don't think we do. But again, I can't comment because I don't remember this being said. You could very well be right. So
it could just be a meme at this point.
Yeah,
because I have seen that meme portrayed so many times now. But yes, I mean, there's lots of nitpicks we could do. Like again, the whole orc thing. I forgot which episode that was in, but I don't think we needed to see or listen. One of my favorite parts of the Two Towers is that one orc fighting for Uruk rights, being like the trees are the roots of the trees go too deep, or or we don't have enough time, or
Yeah.
that was just very fun. The orc fighting for Uruk rights. This here it was done a bit more like.
I'm having a heated debate with a friend of mine about this right
Mm-hmm.
now, where he's on the side of like, they're not acting like orcs, this is fucking dumb, it's unbelievable. And on the one hand, I'm like, calm down. It's definitely silly. And we definitely could have done without it. But also then, calm down. This is a fantasy world. Also, there is no canonical 100% description of how orcs lived and how they were made.
All we know, Joe, this I can confirm 100%. All we know of orc society is that it just never works because they're constantly killing each other.
Exactly. They only work in their small, secluded little gangs, but eventually it all goes tits up and they destroy each other. In terms of how orcs are made, Tolkien has gone from saying they are corrupted elves, they are bred by Morgoth by using the slime and dirt of the earth. But he also wrote in a letter to someone named Miss Munby, whose son was a very big fan of the books and had a lot of questions for Tolkien. He said there must have been orc women. And then if you even think, Azog, the pale orc, is known as son of Bolg, I believe it was. Son implies that there must have been some form of breeding. What that kind of breeding was, I don't know. Whether they have specific gender roles was never, ever, ever touched on or depicted. Now, as you very well stated in this as well, this is a time when orcs are not under one kind of control, and their leader at this point in time in the show is someone who wants freedom for orcs through domination. It is not and again, it is silly. I agree it is silly. Okay? But with this leader who wants free will for orcs, it is in that context not totally out of left field to assume that there could be one orc that maybe goes, you know what? Fighting is going to get me killed, and maybe I don't want to die. And again, it is not expected of the orcs that we know or that we have seen depicted on screen ever before. And again, it is silly, and we could have done without it. But I think the people freaking out about it, guys, reality check, calm the fuck down.
Yeah, I mean, again, my point of view on this, I mean, and again, season 1 was, I have to say, a mess, right? More or less a mess. I did not enjoy season 1 at all. I've been having a decent time. Now, maybe in 2 years, I've matured a bit more. Maybe my point of view has softened a little bit with regard to like the whole lore issues and whatnot. Could be because it's been 2 years, right? 2022 was season 1. Yeah. So I would say overall, I'm having a decent time watching it, especially episode 1 and 2. Episode 2, I really enjoyed. I was like, wow, this is actually really good. Again, you can nitpick this to hell, and I'm sure there are 100 YouTube videos where there's like people nitpicking this to hell. There are also a lot of channels, and I mean, there are certain channels which just feed off the hatred.
Yes.
And that's, I mean, listen, I go with what I feel. Like, I'm having a decent time watching this so far. I'm having a decent time from someone who quite disliked season 1. Again, episode 3 felt like an episode from season 1, I'll be honest. For me personally. And it's probably because it dealt with the storylines I'm less interested in. Once it's dealing with Sauron, fuck man, I really don't get who's not liking the Sauron storyline. I don't get how you could not be liking the whole Sauron storyline. Listen, I understand disliking the Galadriel Sauron shipping thing that they were going for in season 1. I get that completely. I really hated that as well. But apart from that, I think the whole Sauron element.
I only hate that if she knows that he is Sauron and she did not, because isn't one of the greatest deceptions of all time thinking that this is a good person who you might actually be developing some kind of feelings for, only to have that totally betrayed?
Oh, but come on, Galadriel.
Like, okay, it's
Galadriel.
Yes, but she's thousands of years away from the Galadriel that we know.
But she's also thousands of years old already here. She's already
Yes.
like 2,000, 3,000 years already. So
Yes,
that's
but
another element I dislike.
Very young for an elf.
Yeah, I mean, elves. I mean,
These are
elves
if they don't get killed, they will
are
live
eternal,
forever. Yes.
right? But again, a person who has been through thousands of years, potentially. I don't really know exactly how old Galadriel is in the Rings of Power, but I believe it's around between 3,000 to 4,000 years old. I mean, a person who has lived 3,000 to 4,000 years is not going to act as emotionally as she does in season 1. Season 2 is more what I would have imagined from a admittedly younger Galadriel, which is why I'm very much enjoying Galadriel in season 2 compared and contrasted to Galadriel we saw in season 1.
Yeah.
I don't know if something changed with her performance, but she seems much more contained with her emotions and the way she deals with things.
I mean, I think it's what they were going for ultimately. They went for a more emotional, kind of a bit of a mess Galadriel in the first one because she's hung up on her brother being killed and that's her main quest in it. Then she finds someone who can potentially provide the answers and the takedown of this great evil which was responsible for killing her brother and ruining her homeland. And then she ultimately gets betrayed and now it's like, okay, backs against the wall, time to get serious kind of Galadriel, which is, it's a arc which has been done before. This is nothing new. And I don't think it's the worst way to go about it. I don't think Morphy Clark's performance was bad in season 1. I think her dialogue was bad.
I didn't like her performance. I didn't like her take. Again, it could be direction. Could not be her.
That's what we need to take into account as well. And her lines were mostly fairly awful in season 1 as well.
Yes.
And Morphy Clark is a good actor.
Yes,
what I've seen
100%.
In Saint Maud, she was fantastic.
Yeah.
She definitely can do it. And I think it just stemmed from as well, season 1 was so all over the place in general.
Mm-hmm.
Now they seem to have found a bit more of a focus, and as long as the show keeps focused, I think it will be pretty good by the time we get to the end of season 2. The critics are saying it gets to a pretty epic conclusion, which I'm excited for. And ultimately, what I've taken with this in now my ripe old age of 30 years, if you are a fan of something, there is no point being on the negative end of the spectrum because you just bring yourself more misery. I keep thinking back to the speech that Sam gives at the end of the Two Towers of the great stories and how those people faced adversity, but they never gave up, and they never gave up because there's something worth fighting for in this world, and that's good. And I would like to be on that side of history in most things, I like to think. This is a world I love. These are books that I love. These are the original trilogy. Any day I could put them in my top 5 favorite films of all time, if I really want to. Because every time I watch those films, I can go from 1 to 3, and every time I go like, this is the best one in the trilogy for each one of those films. They're very, very special to me and to my childhood. So I would rather still be critical of the show, but also I want it to be good, and I can't help that I want it to be good because I would rather live in a world where I have something good from this world that I love. Rather, I've gone through
exactly
with Star Wars now, where those things are so few and far between of when they're actually good. And like Andor was another one which I kind of went into being like, why am I going to give a shit about this? This isn't going to be good, and it ended up being one of the best shows I watched that year.
Yeah, but like looking at YouTube, then the impression I get is that a lot of these people just wanted to hate it.
Yes, no.
Like, looking at
this is one of the most toxic fan bases in the world, particularly.
Like, I mean,
the fans, the
the orcs, the orcs.
The purists of the book are some of the worst fans I have ever seen, and like they're like, don't you dare say anything in the books.
Oh, there we are.
Was like done poorly because like a thing which a lot of people forget. Peter Jackson changed loads of shit from the books. Like Peter Jackson, for me, created what Sauron is with the great eye in the tower. Was that in the books? No, it was not.
Third, oh my god.
Yeah, these are people cashing in on hate because then many people will watch these because they see this guy's shitting on it. I think the show is bad, and I haven't even watched it. So I'm gonna watch this video because it's telling me that it's bad.
When was this scene in?
I can't recall.
There would never was. That's Anathar there. There was no scene where Celebrimbor was crying like this, no? Or
I don't remember. I don't know where he's gotten that from. It could be maybe there was like a still released in some kind of magazine and he's taken that.
Could be. I mean, you can tell it's the usual people, right? Who are posting these things. The Sparrow. It's always Critical Drinker.
Yes.
It's always
famously known for his positive reviews on things.
Yes. There's Nerd Erotic, classic. The ex-drug dealer. I don't know who this guy is. Yeah, so it's the classic. That's the usual guys, and they have massive fan bases. They have very massive fan bases,
Huge fan bases.
And they breed on hate, right?
Yes.
And they breed on hate. And listen, again, there are some times when I agree with them. And for example, what was the latest Star Wars? The Acolyte.
Oh, the Acolyte, yes.
It was bad. I mean, if it's bad, you have to say it's bad.
Yeah.
But for them, it's always bad. Like, there's never nothing that they ever like, unless it's popular to like something. If it's popular to like something, then yes, they're going to like it. They are very much populists in that sense.
Yeah.
Anything that's popular, they will like. Anything that is popular to dislike, they will dislike.
Yeah.
They're very predictable in that sense.
End of the day with myself, with these properties that have a very special place in my heart, I try to give all of them a chance. With all the Star Wars shows that came out, I tried to watch them. With the Acolyte, I got one episode in and I went, you know what? Not for me. I knew that after one episode. I watched the entirety of the Boba Fett series. I watched the entirety of the Obi-Wan series. I watched the entirety of Ahsoka, just so I can form my own opinion of what is being dished out to me of these properties that I love very much. I will finish the Rings of Power and I will form my own opinion of it. And I want it to do well. When I'm actually entertained and I like something, we know from me being on this show, I'm not afraid to say it. And when I have a problem with something, I'm not afraid to say it as well. And again, the Rings of Power is far from perfect. It's far from great
100%.
at this point. At this point, I think we're in a good place, is what I think with this show, where at least there seems to be a vast improvement in writing overall from the first season. And there seems to actually be a focus now. The biggest problem with season one is the writing was not good. And there was no focus until the final 2 episodes. It was just
100%.
all over the place. It was just a total fucking mess. And I still watched it, and I still found it okay. Just okay. It was just about passable. The final 2 episodes did a lot for me, and especially I thought the finale was actually a very good episode of television, and made me go like, okay, now I actually want the second season from that to see where this goes. And I'm glad that this has started off well for this show. Now it's got one of the most difficult jobs in the world to do, to win over even 10% of this fandom that this IP is a part of. But you know, that's just the world we live in. Look, guys, if you don't like it, don't fucking watch it. And then if you're not watching it, refrain from sharing your opinion with me because it's immediately invalid if you have not watched it.
I've seen like sometimes does it ever happen, Joe, where you're watching a YouTube video and then another YouTube video pops up, and like sometimes I get a guy talking about something that they haven't watched. Like once a Critical Drinker video popped up, and he's talking about The Boys, and like 2 minutes in, he's like, "I haven't watched season 4 of The Boys, but from what I've heard."
Yeah.
Why are you talking about The Boys if you haven't even watched the season? Like, what the fuck? Like,
it's like me saying, like, okay, if you watched all of House of the Dragon season 2. I haven't even started that yet, and you had your opinions on it, and I saw like on the internet, there's loads of memes as well that like House of the Dragon season 2 is like a speeding car not getting to any kind of destination. That's the meme I keep seeing.
Yeah, pretty much.
At the moment. And I haven't watched it, but those opinions are there in my head. But I do intend to watch that season because I liked parts of season 1. I just have to find the time to actually do it. But I'm not going to come on here on the Ad Lib Podcast and go like, yeah, season 2 of the House of Dragon goes nowhere. Because I don't know.
Or what's his name? Asmongold, for example, talking about Rings of Power, and he didn't even watch one episode. Like,
This is with the friend I'm having this debate with about the Orc at the moment, and he's saying it's shit and unbelievable and it shouldn't be done. This guy watched I think 3 episodes of season 1 and has not watched anything since then. And I've tried to tell him, because he loves Lord of the Rings, I'm like, look, I said, maybe watch a recap of season 1 if you don't want to watch it. But I said, season 2 is already a lot better. Well, I don't know. People are going to hate it. I mean, I do it.
Yes.
I do it with Marvel movies. I do it mostly as a joke with Marvel movies as well.
Fair enough. But I mean, Marvel movies deserve it, kind of.
Usually they tend to, yes. But that means I was prepared to hate Deadpool and Wolverine. I watched it, I formed my own opinion. I didn't really hate it in the end. In fact, it was okay.
Fair enough. Anyways, I think we can end it here. Good to our podcast. I was looking forward to the Rings of Power discussions. I was expecting to hate it much more. But you see, you watch it and you form your own opinion. Exactly. I went in ready to hate it. I went in ready to hate it and be like, yeah, this is shit. Episode 3 was kind of a little shit, but episodes 1 and 2 were very good. Whenever Sauron's on screen, I'm happy. Give me more Charlie Vickers. He's great. But yeah, so far, and I'm looking forward to seeing where it's going, right? Because the final destination is very exciting.
Yes.
Like everything from the fall of Numenor to Gil-galad to Madonna. Making the rings. Celebrimbor making the rest of the rings, seeing the rings for men, seeing the rings for the
guys, we're going to see the birth of the Nazgul. Like, that's so cool.
There is lots to look forward to, like loads to look forward to.
Yeah.
I just hope, I guess they do have the budget, right? Because there's going to be some massive battles to portray here.
One thing I can say is overall, the show looks incredible.
Yes, it does.
Like, it is clearly expensive, and it looks it.
And it looks much better than season 1, in my opinion.
Yes, 100%.
Much better. Because there were parts of season 1 where I'm like, the armor, that.
They seem to have done a bit more with the costume design this season as
100%. Well. Much better looking.
It begs like the notion of they're probably taking in some kind of like fan feedback on this as well.
The script definitely not, because season 1 and 2 are written together. So the script is what it is. But visually, I think it looked much better.
Yeah.
The eagle part we didn't discuss. The fact that the eagles are supposed to be like these super smart, these great eagles, which are. I feel like an eagle wouldn't have accepted Pharazôn taking that opportunity to show that, listen, the eagles have blessed me. Like, the eagles intervene.
Yeah.
They're not just there to look pretty, like they were portrayed in episode 3. The eagles are there to intervene, right? So that felt a little. I didn't like that part either. I don't like most of what the Numenor storyline showcases, but yeah, it is what it is. But the where it's going has me excited. Let's say just leave it at that. And with that, viewers and listeners, I don't know, Joe, if you wanted to add anything about that.
No, it's fine.
Or we can conclude here. Viewers and listeners, thank you so much for joining us. We had very good viewership today, very consistent viewership throughout. Good to have you all here. I hope you enjoyed the podcast. We had lots to talk about today, lots of reviews. We will see you all next week for episode 87. That will be next week. What do we have to review for next week? Anything big coming out? Oh, Lee, right, Joe? You're going to go watch Lee.
I'll be seeing Lee on Wednesday.
Yeah, so if you can join, Joe, you'll be doing the review for Lee.
Yeah, I should be fine next Monday.
And Beetlejuice is coming out as well. I'll check Beetlejuice out this weekend. Probably going on Friday.
That means I'm going to have to watch the first Beetlejuice again, because I haven't watched that since I was like 6 years old.
I haven't watched the first Beetlejuice. I have to watch that.
You should probably do that before you watch the second one.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea. I'll probably miss out on most of the stuff. So, viewers and listeners, you've got that to look forward to for next week. Thank you, Joe. As always a really good time to have you. Always a good time to have myself on the podcast as well. Yeah, it's always a good time on the podcast. Viewers and listeners, ciao, ciao. And since Franco isn't here, free Palestine.